Welcome to NeverTheLess podcast with Bidemi Mark-Mordi, a show dedicated to organic leaders and leaderpreneurs. Today, you would learn how to discover your essence and live more powerfully.
Welcome to another episode of the NeverTheLess show with Bidemi Mark-Mordi, a show for organic leaders and leaderpreneurs. It is the month of March, and we started this episode of the NeverTheLess show on pursuit. We spoke about how pursuit is not just, running, with speed or even when you're slow. We spoke about how pursuit is the parameter for which you live your life. BMM also shared the predeterminants for pursuing anything. She said, make sure you define your pursuit. If there's anything I learned from the last episode, that is one thing that is super important. Of course, BMM is here with me in the studio, and we're taking it up in this new episode on what is worth pursuing. BMM, welcome.
Hi, Adisha. It's nice to be here again. Welcome. And God bless you. Thank you for joining us. The last episode we defined pursuit, and we generally just gave an overview of what it is that pursuit would mean for us and should mean for everyone who wants to live the God life and live it well. Well, today we're looking at what is worth pursuing, and we already started down this road last week by explaining. I gave you 4 filters that determine what is worth pursuing. I said to us that you should pursue, whatever you pursue should give God glory. I told us that whatever we pursue should benefit another. Whatever we pursue should never break another person, and obviously should bring you fulfillment. So when we just even want to, if you want a generic template for the things that are worth pursuing, that's how to go about it. But it's beyond that. When we think about what should I be pursuing, when in Purpose University, and especially in the DNA of Purpose course, I talk about doing work that you are good for.
Yes.
That the things you pursue should be the things that you're good for. And what does that mean? It doesn't mean that there are other things you can't do. I just think that when you are good for something, it means that you have the endowment, you have the capacity, you enjoy doing it.
Right.
Because when your pursuit is enjoyable, when your pursuit is something you've been endowed for, that means, endowed for. When your pursuit is what you've been trained for, when your pursuit is therefore what you are good for, even though we are not about speed in pursuit, you find that you move faster than the one who is trying to learn the ropes. So what I find is that we think about the things that are selling, and we decide to pursue what in our mind is selling. Everybody right now is trying to train themselves in tech to get a tech job, and that's great.
Yeah.
But if you are just not it, you are just not it. I have zero interest in those things. I'm not endowed for them. Can I learn them? Yes. Will I be great at them? I don't think so. If I put my heart to do, I'll probably be a 70%, 60%, 70%. What's wrong with 100%? The point is that even though that's maybe crunching it right now and there is a lot of money or a ton of money coming out of it, it's not exactly what I want to pursue. And the reason is, on the inside of me, I am not endowed to do that. So when you want to pursue, or you are reclarifying your pursuit, make sure it's something that you are good for.
Right.
When it means you're good for something, it not only means that you've been endowed to do that thing, that you have the capacity to do it. It also means that you are willing to take responsibility to do that thing. So if I go back to the tech example, someone will say to me, whatever I'm doing today will not sell. But I say no, because you see the tech people, they are closed in their rooms in front of their computer all day. Right. I should tell them that there's a life after that.
Yes.
So they need me. So yes, it's great that they go do their techie jobs and they come back and they earn enough money, but part of that money will be coming to me.
Right.
You know why? Because when it comes to thinking about their welfare in their mind, I am useful. When it comes to thinking about their welfare in their spirit, I am useful. My point is, We don't have to, you don't determine what is worth pursuing by what in your mind sells.
What is trendy?
Yes, what is trending or what is selling. Because if those are the only parameters by which you choose what to pursue, you'd make mistakes. If there's one overriding thing that you must think is someone will benefit, this will glorify God. So yes, take through the 4-step filter. Then number 2, ask yourself, am I good for this work? Am I good for this thing, this pursuit? Am I good for it? Because if you're good for it, staying power will come with what you do.
Right.
Every time someone is not good for what they do, they lack staying power. After a few minutes, they're tired. When someone offends them, they go back. When someone, you easily find an excuse to stop doing what you're doing just because you're not good for it. But every time I find someone who's good for something, oh my God, it doesn't matter what isn't going well. You find them standing there and they're making it work. They're finding different ways to get it done. Why? Because they are good for it. As far as they're concerned, if they don't do this, then there is no life. So find something you are good for and pursue it with everything that you have got. The other thing that should determine what you pursue is what you can, your best use. Let me use that expression. Well, your best use, because sometimes you are endowed with a number of things and you are good at them, but you're never equally. So for instance, I don't know if I've told this story in this set of broadcasts already, but there's something called I call my best use. When I tell people that I can cook, and I'm not even trying to hype myself.
Please,
promise
hype
you,
yourself. Not everybody can cook.
I can cook, but it's not my best use. And the reason why cooking is not my best use is bottom line thinking.
Right.
By the time I think about my bottom line, cooking will fill your tummy. And someone will say, if there's no fuel in your tank, you can't get the job done. I agree. But there are people who, for them, that's their best use, just to feed us. I don't think that to give someone physical food is my best use. This that I'm doing is my best use. So even though I'm good at cooking and I can actually do it for a while, it's not something I can go all day doing and not get tired or begin to get bored of. Do you understand that?
Yes.
So even though I'm good at it, it is not my best use because it doesn't have the same impact on my own defined bottom line as it does as this other part of me does.
Right.
Writing books, there's a way it impacts upon my clearly defined bottom line that I want to write more books. Podcasting is a way it adds to my clearly defined bottom line that makes me want to do it. I can literally see the transformation in people over time when they continue to listen to me and do what it is that I am espousing for them to do. And for that reason, I would always go back to pursuing this that I can see brings an enhancement to the lives or to the lives. When I say the lives of people, I mean the way other people live their lives. Why? Because my pursuit is about the mind. It's about the mind. I in a season in my life, I said it this way. I said that what I do is I empower minds, clarify vision, and activate purpose. So my work is mind-based. If I can get you to see the picture of who you truly are, if I can show you where the resources are for you to become that person, if I can tell you the steps and the processes by which you can get there, I think it beats giving you a pot of food or a pot of soup any given day.
Absolutely.
So the question I'm answering is, what is worth pursuing? And I have said that you should pursue the things that give you glory. You should pursue what benefits others. You should pursue what doesn't break another. And you should pursue what gives you fulfillment. But I said beyond that, you should pursue what you are good for. That means that you have the capacity to continue to do it. And I've now taken it a step further. I said, pursue the things that you that reflect your best use. They reflect your best use, which means that at the end of the day, when you exert yourself in that way, you go back feeling like I have lived today. So if you don't, you pursue those two things, or if you pursue life by these three, pursue the things you pursue through this, using these three things as your template, the odds are you will go far. I want to stop and see if you have a question.
Absolutely. As you were just sharing, I'm just hearing pursuit is about authenticity. That's what I'm hearing. And we're going to go on a break now. I'd like you to just drill into authenticity, how you need to be authentic to yourself, authentic in God's agenda for you as you pursue this thing that is a predetermined goal in God's mind for us.
Okay.
We'll be right back shortly. Please don't go anywhere.
In a world filled with many fears and discouragement, life often becomes a burden. For those who know the way, life is just simple. Do not worry, you're not alone on this life's journey, as Bidemi Mark-Mordi shares powerful insights and principles from her everyday work and life experiences in her book, NeverTheLess. NeverTheLess is a book designed to encourage and equip you to face life with courage, hope, and determination. Get a copy of NeverTheLess and other books written by Bidemi Mark-Mordi, like The Wisdom of the Seed, Honor, The Theology of Work, and so much more from a bookstore nearby, or call 080-905-63555, or send an email to bidemi@bidemimarkmordi.com to place your order. I guarantee you will make it, nevertheless.
Welcome back to the NeverTheLess show. My name is Adeshawa Greg Godaro, and BMM has been talking about what is worth pursuing. Before we went on this break, she actually spoke about the things that we must begin to look at, ask ourselves questions concerning to determine what exactly are we pursuing. And I said something before we went on that break that as she was sharing, the one thing that was standing out for me is that pursuit is authentic. And honestly, I'm even seeing it as a triangle. God, you, and people. Maybe because you're using the bottom line of people, but that's how I'm seeing it. But I'm also asking myself, does it mean that in this triangle, yes, God is supreme, but the onus lies on you to be able to help other people in this pursuit?
Yes, because you are the bridge. You're the bridge between God and the people. So whatever you don't do doesn't get to the people. Even though God commits it to you, it doesn't flow to the people. And whatever you don't give to the people, they can't in turn, take it, turn it around with who they are and then send it to other people, which means they might have received from God to send to other people. So for that reason, yes, authenticity is critical. A lot of us want to be everybody but us. But I still think that the best and easiest, I don't even want to use the expression the best way, even though it makes sense that way. But what I want to hone in on is that the easiest way to live life, the most effortless way to live life is to be true to you. Be true to you. You must take yourself through self-audit. Ask yourself, this thing I'm doing, do I have the capacity to continue to do it? There are many things I've done in the course of my life that I don't care what you are willing to pay me in this season of my life. I'm not willing to do anymore. I'm not willing to do them anymore. I want to go home and sleep. Even in something as simple as, taking on a client. There are certain kinds of clients I won't take anymore. And it's not because I do not need the money. It's just because I'm looking for the easiest, maybe not easy, but the most effortless way to live my life and be true to myself and the goals that God has called me to. Do you understand that? So absolutely, authenticity is critical. I like it where in the book of Judges, Gideon, the angel came to him and said, "Oh, you man of valor." And Gideon said, "You must have the wrong person because I am not like that at all." He goes on and he highlights the many things that make him a disadvantaged person. And the authentic part of it is because of that capacity to be vulnerable and real that God said to him, "If you can depend on me, I know you are all these things you've talked about, but this is how I see you potentially. exactly. So if you can depend on me, you will pursue the right things. And Gideon so pursued that he went on to defeat 140 something thousand men with 300 men. Again, I like to always add, who didn't need to fight.
Right.
That's what happens when you are true to yourself and you open yourself up to the help that you need in the moment. Do you understand that? So yes, pursuit is critical, and authenticity is critical for great pursuit. Maybe that's what I should say. But when we also started, I talked about disruptions.
Yeah.
And I said that when pursuit will always bring disruption your way. So if you're asking me what is worth pursuing, I guess that I would say to you also that whatever disruption I'm willing to endure and bear is indicative of the fact that what I'm in pursuit of, I should continue to pursue it.
Right.
Because I don't know about everybody else. I keep having to talk about myself because I'm the only person who goes to bed with me. Do you understand that?
Right.
And when I think about it, I say to myself, there are many things. If I had done with you before, you would say, that woman has no staying power. And that's because I see no need in exerting myself in the things that I'm not willing to carry the burden for. And the things that I do pursue today are the things that I'm willing to continue to spend and be spent for. You need to understand that pursuit would deplete you in certain seasons of your life.
Wow.
It would deplete your energy.
Wow.
It would deplete you emotionally. It would take you to the sifters financially. And unless you have concluded or you have arrived at that place in yourself where you say, I am willing to bear the brunt of this disruption, the odds are you will not put your shoulder to that work. So if you're asking me again, what else is worth pursuing? What you are willing to bear the brunt of the destruction that it will bring into your life is worth pursuing. You find people who are career people. You know, when I say, I mean like top shot, it's not that I'm not a professional, but I mean those who have what we call the 9-to-5ers.
Yes.
They go to work, but when I was growing, in the early years of my marriage, that was one thing I couldn't do. I couldn't bear to leave my children at home every single day and leave at 6 a.m. because I live in Lagos, and if you want to do it where you have to leave that early and you have to come back late.
Yeah.
I couldn't take a bank job, for instance. There was no way I was going to leave my house at 6 a.m. and come back at 10 p.m. before my children wake up and after they go to bed. So I had to ask myself, within the confines of what I've been endowed with and what I could be pursuing and how I could be pursuing what I'm pursuing, do I want to make this sacrifice? Because you need to ask yourself, is this sacrifice worth it? In my case, I didn't think so. Does that mean that those who have chosen to make that sacrifice are bad people? Absolutely not. They probably have a support system like I do not have. They probably have a strategy different from the one I have.
Yeah.
They probably have a higher threshold for certain things than I have. Do you understand that? But I had to sit down and say to myself, what am I willing to sacrifice in the line of this pursuit? And that's a question everybody should ask. Do I want to? What is the cost of my pursuit? You must do the math. What is the cost of my pursuit? And then you want to ask yourself, is this a cost I'm willing to bear? When eventually my children went on to secondary school, because they went to boarding schools, I could take on a bit more. I could go to work early. I could come back a tad later. But I also made sure that my calendar was always determined by their calendar.
Right.
So if they were going to be on midterm, a second or half term, a certain weekend, that weekend it's free for me because I want to be there when they come home. As a matter of fact, most of the time I'll probably go and get them from school, but I want to be in their life for the 5 days or so that they are home for half term before they go back to school again. Do you see it? So I had to ask myself, what am I willing to give up? And what am I not willing to give up? There are two sides of the same coin. I was willing, for instance, in the line of my pursuit, and up to tomorrow is still there, I'm willing to give up my sleep early in the mornings. So like these days, I wake up at 2:30 a.m. At 2:30 a.m., whether I want to or not, my body clock would wake me up. So I'm up at 2:30 a.m. I get out of bed at 3 and my day begins. But it also means that I had to figure it out. There's nothing you are doing outside my house at 10 p.m. that I will be there for. You can't, even if you invited me, I'll say thanks, but no thanks, because I know I'm going to get up at 2:30 a.m. At 8 p.m. I should be in bed. Can you see it?
Yeah.
So when you do pursuit properly, it determines even how you do. It determines the relationship you nurture. It determines the ones you step back from. But unless you have, let's go back to the first thing you said, unless you are deliberate enough to figure this out. Before it gets to crunch time, you'll find yourself with so many that thing called, so many plates in the air, and you're trying to juggle, and you find yourself actually under pressure,
and sometimes in a mess.
And sometimes in a mess. You find yourself dropping balls, and people are saying to you, oh, you said you do this, you didn't do that, you said you do that, you didn't do that, and it becomes a mess. But once you do this, you just ask yourself, what is the cost of my pursuit? What am I willing to give up? What am I not willing to give up? What am I paying for the things that I give up? Because sometimes it will be, okay, I'm willing to give this up. Because if you ask those my friends those days who had to have 9-to-5 jobs, as we called them in those days, you will find that most of them had to have people who stood in for them. Some of them uprooted their mothers to come and live with them all through, because someone needed to be there who could look after their children and look at. So it's not that their children suffer, but that means that they are taking a look at the dynamics of their own families, and they know that if they have fathers, their fathers are willing to release their mothers to come, or maybe they move their parents into the city where they live so they can drop their children. It's you must think it through. I didn't have that, so I sat at home. But what is the converse? The converse was, I was not as financially empowered as they were in that season. They could just, at the drop of a hat, spend money. They could, at the drop of a hat, make a financial decision. I had to wait. I had to save. I had to plan. I had to rely on my husband at some point. Do you understand that? So because of that, pursuit costs something. And you must know what you are willing to pay. You must know what you're willing to pay. But when you do it right, there is a hope that pursuit gives that cannot be quantified. But you must do the hard work of determining, is this worth my while? You know, when we were and earlier on in the body, when when in church, we were told that asking the question, is it worth my while, was unchristian. And so we couldn't ask the reward question. And because we couldn't ask the reward question, we found ourselves, or people found themselves, because I never did do that, people found themselves in service and in pursuit where they grumbled and they complained throughout. So you also want to pursue what you have figured out the reward system, and it is what you want. Do you understand that? So if I go back to myself and my friends and my peers in my day, they had worked it out, and as far as they are concerned, perhaps the money that comes from taking a big job, or the recognition that comes with doing that work in that prime and season of their lives mattered to them. The CV, know how powerful and solid their CV looked, mattered to them. So they stepped into that place. The point is, when you do this underground work, if you like, you would not regret what you pursue. Remember that last month we looked at the regret series. And the idea is that when you pursue properly,
You won't get to the
you
place
won't
of
get to the
regret.
point where like I wish and I didn't wish, or I wished and I wished. Do you understand that?
Absolutely.
Yes.
Wow. Oh God. So yes, pursuit is an authenticity journey. We have to sit with ourselves. That is not one of the journey where you sit down and let somebody determine the path for you. So we're back to the conversation of you have to make a conscious effort to sit back. It's the place of discernment, is the place of discovery before you can deploy anything at all. So that you're not even deploying the wrong thing. And you're not executing what will kill you. And as you were saying, that's what I was hearing, like if you don't count the cost, you have to bear the brunt of it, and sometimes you may not even be able to bring it back together.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because people have given up things they should never have given up in the line of pursuit. I'm in one of my expressions is ministry. I can't tell you how many marriages have broken because one person feels so anointed that they spend all their time pursuing ministry and trying to make impact in the lives of others while
The home is so
neglecting what it is that they've been called to do at home. So it's taking the time to define again. I don't know why definitions always show up, but I think that's the point of intentionality.
Yeah.
You must clearly define what you're doing so that you can do it well.
Wow. Thank you so much for joining us on this episode. BMM, is there any other thing you would like to leave with us on this episode?
In this episode, I'd like to, maybe reiterate again that bottom line definitions is critical. Maybe reiterate again that counting the cost is powerful. Jesus or the Bible says that if a man wants to build a house, he needs to first count the cost, because otherwise, that's actually Jesus that said it. If you do not count the cost, people will say to you, this man is foolish. He started to build without counting the cost, and now he can't finish what he started to build. So it is critical that you do that cost analysis. Make sure you do your cost analysis. Remember that I said to us that you pursue what you are good for. Remember that I said to you, you pursue what is your best use. You pursue what you are willing to take on the disruption that comes with it. You pursue what does not break another person. You pursue something that you have counted the cost to determine, is this the cost that I want to pay, or is this just too much for me? And when we think about that, maybe I ought to say to us, because someone will say, oh, but God told me to do it. Right. I promise you, in that time, I knew God told me to do the things that I was doing. But I also know that God didn't ask me to do them at the detriment of my children. Do you understand that? So stepping back for me in my mind was, this is a season. In this season, this is how much I can go or how far I can go. And while I am waiting for the time when I'm able to go more, I will just bide my time and continue to prepare myself as best as I can from where I am at. So those are the things I'd like to add to this episode, I guess.
Thank you so much for joining us. Remember that the NeverTheLess show is a show for organic leaders and leaderpreneurs. And when you discover purpose, you will live powerfully.
We'll see you next week with another episode on the Pursuit series. Thank you and God bless you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you for listening to NeverTheLess. For more information and resources, call 080-90563-555. Don't forget, discovering your purpose helps you live more powerfully.